Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check Live, coming to you live over the internet, over a system of tubes, known as a YouTube imitation of the boob tube, bringing you another broadcast of my live stream special, Spleen Squeezins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, this is me. This is me. I don't know what I've done, but I can hear an echo of my voice in the background. It's kind of disturbing. I don't know if my voice is too loud. I don't know if my voice is too soft. Please tell me. Okay, I have got my microphone. Okay, the desktop audio is set at about negative 26 decibels, and my auxiliary mic, which is my mouthpiece mic, is set at 0.0 dB. I have no idea what that means. So, theoretically, and only theoretically, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I just managed to figure out how to. I'm not sure what I'm doing. But, yeah. I'm still not sure what I'm doing, so you'll just have to suffer through this with me. I don't know nothing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm doing or how I'm supposed to do it. Okay. I'm going to assume... Okay, Chris Windows, you can hear me fine right now. Can you hear the music in the background? Can you hear the music? Do you hear the music? Can you hear the people sing? Sing the songs of angry men. Gillette customers. That's going to be a dated joke right there. Alright, great. The music is fine. Voice is fine. Life is wonderful. Okay, coincidentally, if you were planning on perhaps dropping a little something, a little bon mot, a little gratuity into the tin, this would be the time to do it, because yeah, I overdrafted again by like a buck. So you know, I don't get any. I'm not getting any cash until the 31st, or rather the 1st of February, and you know how it goes. They're gonna play handball with it, and I'm gonna. So yeah, if you feel like dropping a buck in, that'd be nice. Yeah. Hey, I'm beyond shame at this point. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, everybody's been seeing news. Okay. Yeah. There's a new slogan that seems to be going around making its way around the internet right now. Get woke, go broke. Feminists hate it. It's the basic truth, because every time they try and get all woke with whatever they're doing, whether it's a TV show or a movie or anything else, it comes back to bite them in the bum, and they lose massive amounts of money. Good news is they're coming out with a Ghostbusters 3. The Ghostbusters 3 is going to completely ignore the Ghostbusters 2016. completely ignore the entire all-woman cast fan fiction they made of Ghostbusters, and they're gonna have Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in it, and it's going to pick up where the old one where the original one's left off. And of course, feminists, the black lady that acted in the 2016 reboot, oh, she's out there huffing and snorting. Oh, he's misogynist. It must be wonderful to be able to blame all your problems on the fact that you have boobs. Really, it must be fabulous. Go in there, stick your tongue in a light socket. It's misogyny, But oh man, and well, like I said, get woke, go broke. The movie bombed, and then they had the recent fiasco with Gillette. Gillette, the best a man can get, and they decided to get all woke, and they did this. We men need to do better, and they just metrosexualed the heck out of themselves, and it was just basically insulting to anything with a Y chromosome. It's all the trite little feminist issues of the day crammed in one. The interesting thing was, originally the video they did, the commercial they did, they had a clip of a gangster rapper manhandling a couple of women in the middle of a rap video. That got dropped real quick. They went and re-edited it after the fact, because you can disparage men so long as they're white and non-protected minority class, but disparaging black men for treating women poorly, oh no, can't have that. Well, anyway, nobody's buying, Gillette, people have quit buying it, boycott all across the country, and all the soy boys in the news are. People just don't understand. They're just overreacting. Well, you call us what you want. You can make fun of us. You can insult us. You can talk about how hypersensitive we. Oh, you're such a hypersensitive male. Yeah, well, yeah, but you're not getting our money, are you? Kind of spoils your day, doesn't it? You're not getting our money. You're not getting our money, are you? Boo-hoo. Turn that down a little bit. Just a little bit too loud there. Anyway. I kind of wish that when I kind of wish I had gone with a more Creole theme for Malarkey County. I don't know from Creole, so probably for the best that I didn't try. Cajun, Creole, whatever. Okay. I spent the last weekend, basically I spent Saturday, Sunday, and Monday trying not to freeze to death. I'll be blunt. I've got 3 little electric heaters. I had 3 little electric heaters in my house, going, they are aging poorly. Let's put it that way. And the temperature dipped down into below freezing, way below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Not 0 degrees centigrade, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you not living in the States. Think negative 30 degrees. Kind of weather that would make a polar bear die for his long woolly undies. And there's nothing more excruciating than being cold and being unable to sleep. I eventually reached a point where I was slumped down next to the bed so that I could be close enough to the heater to stay warm, and wrapped up in blankets. I went to bed wearing my wearing my bathrobe, wearing my winter coat over my bathrobe, and then wrapped myself up in blankets. That's how cold it was. I wore the coat mostly because it has a hood that'll droop down over my face, keep the cold air off it. I can't sleep if there's cold air on my face. And as it was like 3 days and 3 nights of just just huddling next to whatever would keep me warm. And then I spent the day after that just sleeping, catching up on all the sleep I lost. Fortunately, though, things are looking better. The weather not only is warmer, with a nice long warm streak ahead of us, but also my parents dropped off an electric heater, another electric heater. It's a pretty big one, one of those, one of the fancy looking ones. Don't know what they're called, but quartz. I think it's one of those quartz crystal thermodymo, just Star Trek looking mothers. That it should it should go a long ways towards keeping me from freezing my lug nuts off. I want you want to know how cold it got. Now, those of you who know me, years ago, a couple of years ago, the pipes under my house burst in the cold, and when I finally got them repaired, Daniel Meyer, God bless him, he sent me a huge roll of PVC pipe to use to repair. And I went out there, and I finally managed, me and my brother-in-law finally came over, we put all the pipes together. But I had him run the water pipes inside the house. I have a water pipe literally running across the floor of my laundry room. I have water pipes running across the floor of my laundry room, and one water pipe, 2 water pipes actually, running across the floor of my kitchen area to the sink. There are, other than the pipe that comes into the house and the drains that go out, there are no pipes under my house that carry water. All the pipes are inside, indoors. And I still had one of my pipes freeze up. Now, what it was is that the laundry room, one of the windows, it's supposed to have storm window. One of them popped out, and the sealants around. I taped the windows shut and everything, but the stuff that was taped, it came loose, and so that room got below freezing. And so one of the pipes, all the water comes through that room, and so one of the pipes leading to the living room, to the kitchen rather, the pipes leading to the kitchen froze indoors. In my house. That's how cold it got. I've gone back around, and I've been going around just finding drafts and stapling sheets and boards and stuff over as it stands. But hopefully I've managed to improve matters so I'm no longer in that situation. Anyway, I'm trying to pull this up here. Yeah, I have an electric blanket, but it broke. That's the thing of it is, first of all, the electric blanket that I had, it must have been one of the cheap, I don't know, cheap made in China crap. Because when it did work, the electric blanket, it would stay warm, and it would stay warm for a couple hours, and then it would shut off. Safety feature, right? You figure, it'll shut off and then it'll turn back on again later. No, it didn't. Once it shut off, and it stayed off. So you go to bed all toasty warm, and then you wake up in the middle of the night, and you ain't so happy no more. Eventually, it stopped turning on at all. So it's still a good blanket. It's nice and fluffy. But, yeah, there you have it, Anyway, let me see, I gotta actually pretend to earn my keep here and try and do some artwork here. Let me get ouch, darn. Dropped some stuff on my toe. That's not very nice. Where's stylus? As you can imagine, I didn't get anything accomplished this week. I used to have a tent. It was just a plastic drop cloth that I hung up and made a sort of a tent around my computer corner to keep all the warm air close by. That eventually got so tattered I couldn't use it anymore, so I need to get a new one. Get clothes on. I could just... If I had a dime for all the things I need to do or want to do, crap, I could buy a whole new house. But yeah. Pardon. I wanna do at least one comics. I want to finish one comic. Just finish this one page. These hands are terrible. I'm terrible at hands. I've been doing this. I've been doing art type stuff for decades now, and I still suck at it. Now, I talked about this the last broadcast. Let's see here. Let me change over to image window here. Let's see, window capture 2. There we go. I had a day left on my I had a day left on my Netflix account. So I said, what the heck? And I watched, I got to watch, my brain's just skipped a groove. So in the middle of freezing, I managed to watch Avengers Infinity War. It was a passable movie. It wasn't the blockbuster awesome kind of movie that the first Avengers movie was. Just not quite. This was a bridging episode. It was basically a bridging episode. Everybody was wanting to get to the end game, Avengers Endgame, and this was just to get you from point A to point B. But so it was pretty good. It was it was fun to. It was a moderately fun watch. But the thing that got me, okay, the premise is that we finally meet Thanos. Thanos, the big bad of the Avengers movies series. The guy who's been responsible for all this crap. And it turns out now, in the comic books, Thanos is a mad titan who is, basically he's a creepy stalker who is desperately trying to woo the embodiment of death. Generally by killing lots of people. And the movies, he rationalizes what he does, blah 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 blah. But in the movies, I don't know whether you'd call it simplifying, but they changed that out a little bit. Is that Thanos is the last survivor of a race that basically starved themselves to death. Used up all the resources on their planet and died. Eco message number 1. And so he's going around, and his great crusade, his mighty cause is that he wants to exterminate half the life in the universe, so that there's enough to go around, so that to stop everybody from the universe is imbalanced. Life is devouring everything. And he wants to kill half of all living things to bring the universe back in balance. So that and he's been going around doing it by hand thus far. Going from world to world, conquering it, killing half the people, and moving on. His stated goal, that's the reason he wants the Infinity Gauntlet. With the Infinity Gauntlet, all he has to do, if he has all the Infinity Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet, with a snap of his fingers, poof. He can do whatever he wants. And, well, he accomplishes it at the end of the movie. Okay. My big beef about this is that he is portrayed as a tragic villain. And they go way out of their way to give all sorts of sympathy to him, to his motivations, to his cause, and the heroes, they can't, they get turned into cookie cutter, cardboard cutouts that can't state their moral position any better than, that's bad, we'll stop you. Even though he gets to make all the eulogies and the speeches and all the lectures about how he's bringing balance back to the universe and saving the universe from starvation, and that and every time someone, you just murdered half the people on this planet, and now the rest of them will no longer go to bed hungry, and that kind of crap. What most people don't get is that this Thanos isn't. His philosophy is literally being espoused right now by real people. That's why I kind of object to the fact that everybody else is basically puppeteered into standing around looking stupid and incapable of responding to him. Oh, damn it already. What is this? I swear I'm going to kill whoever picks out these audios. The volume changing as they go through cheeses me off. Anyway, but basically everybody else is puppeteered into not being able to answer any of his rhetorical gibberish. And Danny Meyer, you were saying, what would you do? And I'm like, I would give them the heroes at least one or two lines where they point out the flaws in his logic, but they don't do that. His progressive population control ideology, gets all the sympathy. And all the press, oh, it's terrible that he's doing this, but he's doing it for a noble cause. And and I have seen so many columns right now. You think this doesn't matter? I have seen post after tweet, after column, after blog, people saying, "Wow, maybe Thanos was right. Thanos was the real hero of the story." That should scare the absolute metal muffins out of you. You should be crapping your pants in fear with the recognition that people watch a movie about a man who wants to murder half the universe, and they're saying, "Well, I think he has something there. I think he has a pretty good idea. In the 1940s, we had to deal with somebody like that. Okay? We fought a Cold War to stop people like that in their tracks. This kind of shit, this is not a joke, people. When mass media has more influence on how people think of things than any number of educational lectures or arguments. No, it's when we reach a point where I'm trying to spit this out. This is so important, and it frustrates me that people brush off what I am saying. Oh, he's just being melodramatic. You wish. You damned well wish I was just being melodramatic. Long before Hitler climbed up the podium for the first time, armchair philosophers were sitting around in Ivy League colleges, smoking their pipe and blathering about things like eugenics, population control, and perfecting of the human race by eliminating the inferior classes. And it was being taken as sober philosophy. In fact, it was background static in most cultures. I would have had at least somebody point. Look. Here, you want to hear what kind of arguments I would have put? I would have had one of them. I would have had Bruce Banner. The sentimental but concerned. The sentimental concerned scientists point out that you can't just kill half. He wasn't just killing half the people. He was literally killing half the life in the universe. Have you ever heard of colony collapse? Colony collapse is what happens when too many of the worker bees in a hive die. Whether you're talking pesticides or a cold snap or whatever. After a certain percentage of the worker bees dies, the whole hive collapses. Because every member of the hive had a specific role. And if too many of them die off at once, the remainder aren't enough to hold things together. Now imagine that half the bees in the world suddenly died. The half of every hive. Every hive would die. And bees are responsible for the pollination of approximately 70 to 80% of the food crops in the world. Boom! Instant famine. Which would almost certainly trigger all sorts of scarcity wars, outright genocide, World War III. And that's just the bees. You can't, I would have had at least somebody would have said that his plan is insane. You can't chop an ecosystem in half and expect the remaining half to work. And then there's the issue that colony collapse doesn't just happen to animals or insects either. What happens to all the factories, all the power plants, all the nuclear power plants, all the vehicles full of people, all the and since we're talking about science fiction, all these planets, all the spaceships, all the space colonies, all the space stations, all the batteries, suddenly, boom, half their vital crew is gone. How long would it take for at least a half dozen nuclear power plants to go waboom because half the people needed to run them suddenly disappeared? Just two sentences from one of the characters saying, this is, you're nuts. You'll trigger extinction events all over the galaxy. Having one character, Gamora, for instance. Gamora was a child from one of the worlds that Thanos decimated. No, actually, decimated is the incorrect word. Decimated means 1 out of 10. Just having Gamora point out, our planet had problems. You killed off everybody that might have solved them. And you've never exactly gone back and checked how those planets you ruined are doing now, have you? And there's also the fact that everywhere he's gone in the movie, he doesn't exactly stop at 50%. He wipes out the Asgardians to the last. Men, women, children, all of them. Destroys, the only survivor was Thor. He wipes out the colony of nowhere. No survivors. Just having somebody point out, the little inconsistency. One, you're crazy. Two, your plans don't work. And three, you don't seem interested in your plans anyway. You seem more interested with killing than with saving anything. Just having somebody say that. Daniel, I'm sure that you got it. But I submit to you how many people didn't get it. There was a guy who wrote an entire news magazine he wrote an entire magazine column on how Thanos was the real hero of the movie. I mean, that pretty much spells out did not get the point in great big giant neon letters with a fart horn blowing every 5 seconds for emphasis. I'm sorry, this winds me up. It winds me up. If you can't guess why it winds me up, well, I don't know what to tell you. My God, these people are just, oh. Sorry, it just, when I start seeing evidence, when, for every one person, I found one person that said something. A web cartoonist like myself. And that one person, that's it. I go trolling through the internet. I'm seeing all sorts of Thanos was right posts. People making cracking jokes about it. But it's obviously that they're sitting there going, and nobody's pulling them over and saying, wait, check yourself before you wreck yourself. There was a time, you shouldn't have to tell people, killing lots of people is bad. There was a time you didn't have to. Now let me tell you something about this. Years ago, this was decades ago. I remember reading about one teacher. He was a high school teacher who was teaching these kids about the Aztecs and the Incas and the barbarity of their religious practices. And he had students come to him after class. These fresh-faced kids coming. Why are you judging those people? You can't judge those people by standards that we have today. Everything. Morality changes and blah 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 blah. This was about people who ripped out human hearts, and he was being chided for saying, this is wrong. To you and me, it's obvious. To you and me, it's childishly obvious. But the vast majority of our mainstream and of our cultural elites are dedicated to being beyond childishly oblivious to self-evident truths. And what's more, it's become the big lie. It's become the background drumbeat in every aspect. It's a lot. Well, calling it a big lie, you should probably call it the little lie that's everywhere. Like global warming, it's gotten to the point where you say global warming. Global warming it's referenced everywhere, as if it were a given truth, mentioned in passing in every TV script and commercial and social program and science class, and it's as if it were a confirmed scientific fact, which is anything but. All sorts of outrageous lies are told about it, but it's just the drumbeat repetition. Well, you hear it all the time in the background, and these entire generations are growing up with that noise in the background, and fewer and fewer people counteracting and contradicting it. And it used to be self-evident that trying to save the world with mass genocide was monstrous and evil. But isn't it funny how even though communism killed millions of its own citizens? Like the dog returns to its vomit, and the sow returns to her mire, and the fool's wobbling finger, the fool's burned finger goes wobbling back to the fire. We got entire generation coming up and going out marching. Capitalism is the disease and communism is the cure. This is stuff their grandparents lived through. You got environmentalists out there who think that who espouse population control already. The idea of having the government come in and decide who gets to procreate and who doesn't. Children mental children, just gobbling up the failed ideas of the past like they were in a chocolate eclair. Yes, you do have to be explicit and explain why something is wrong. You at least have to make an effort at it. Especially when it's ideas that keep being regurgitated up over and over again, generation after generation. They just recently, what state was it recently passed laws legalizing abortion right up to birth? Yes, you need to do. Yes, you do need to lecture people like that because people, yes, people are that stupid. They are that stupid and they are that wicked. I need to figure out what kind of shirt he was wearing. Let's see here. Gotta go digging back through the pack pages. Or I could browse and find a page where there's a Duke on him. Hold on, hold on. Do some file searching. I'm sorry, I'm not mad at y'all. I'm not mad at any of you. I'm just mad about this. Well, the fact that a lot of you are sitting there, oh well, it's not a big deal. Yes, it's a big deal. This is how it always starts. And this is not a start. This is a sign that the rot is well developed. You shouldn't have to sit and you shouldn't have to sit somebody down and explain to them why genocide is wrong. Of course, you shouldn't have to sit anybody down and explain why something is wrong, but you have to anyway. Welcome to life. I swear I'm going to kill whoever records that music. They keep bobbling the audio so it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. They know this stuff is for background music and for broadcasts and other people doing shows and stuff. So what is this nonsense where they're fiddling with the volume? And there are tricks that you can do when you record a song to make it play louder, no matter what they do to the volume control. They're bringing out the violence in me, I swear they are. Let's see here. Let's see. Man. Really starting to wonder. Ah, yes. Poofy sleeve look. Memory like a steel trap, rusted shut and illegal in all 50 states. I hate that song. I hate it. I hate it. It's pretty obvious how they're going to do it. Thanos still has the Infinity Gauntlet, even though it's burned all to crap. All they have to do is take the Time Stone back. Everything the Gauntlet did, the Gauntlet can undo. It's just... sometimes the way people react when I tell them something that that shouldn't have to be said. I tell people like this, I've come to the bitter conclusion that the only pleasure I'm going to have, if God should decide for whatever horrible reason that I should live to be 100, despite how broken down my body already is. If he should decide that I should live to be 100, the only pleasure I'm going to have out of life for the last decade of my existence on this planet is being able to look at everybody and say, "I told you so. I damned well told you so. You thought I was being dramatic." I don't know why Christians are astonished that nobody believes the Bible anymore. People don't believe a history book when they read it. Pardon my language. Shouldn't be letting that happen anyway. But doggone it, really. My dad. I went through this with my dad. Uh, you remember the housing bubble? This was years ago. This is when I was still. Well, it doesn't matter. It is. It was years ago, back before the housing bubble burst, and I kept telling my dad. My dad kept talking up owning property, and I looked and I said, Dad, the housing bubble is unsustainable. And look here, I pulled up a website. There was this guy he was a banking insider who went in excruciating detail as to what had created this bubble and how long and why it wasn't sustainable, why it was going to burst, and everything. And I pointed out this guy's facts, and well, he doesn't know nothing. You just got that off the internet. And I was like, you know, he did, my dad basically did everything but pat me on the head and tell me to go off and be stupid someplace else. Guess what happened? Boom! The housing bubble broke. I'm yet to get an apology from him. He'll be like my grandmother was. My father's mother, she had this charming habit of conveniently forgetting conversations she didn't want to remember. Dad would always be arguing with her, and she'd say, "But you said last week or last time we were here, you said this. I don't remember that conversation." Drove him nuts. I'll leave you to consider the irony, but I've spent my whole life reading the writing on the wall, trying to tell other people that I care, that I know, my friends, my family, and just being dismissed. If they listen to me, they go, yeah, 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 yeah. And then they go about their day as if I had said nothing. I wonder if there is one person in 1,000 who has heard what I was saying. I warn them, this is what's going to happen. I said, this is what will happen if, if you do A, B, C, D is bound to happen. We've already done A, we've done B, we've done C, and D is on the way. And I wonder if there is anybody, anywhere, at any time, at any place, anywhere ever, who has listened to anything I have ever said, taken it to heart, and acted, appropriately, made the appropriate preparations. No, I don't think so. I remember when the Y2K problem started cropping up. It was getting pretty alarming. I mean, there were many that vast portions of our infrastructure was run by computers that were so old that the dating system they use was not going to be able to handle the rollover. And they started talking about this at least 2 years before 2000. And Dad was, oh no, there's nothing wrong here. And the reason he believed this, I turned the calendar on my computer forward to 2000, nothing happened. Yes, your desktop computer, your desktop computer, and the 1970s computers that are running our infrastructure, two peas in a pod. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about, boy. Yeah, well, most people don't know. Well, yeah, it would have been. Let me put it this way: it would have been mountains worse. But they spent 2 years ripping out every computer they could lay their hands on, replacing it. They still had problems. They had people who were they were declared legally dead and over a century old. They had people who had problems with vehicular licenses. Several banks over in Europe, they had problems with their teller machines, but by and large they had managed to avoid the problem because they went in and maintained it. But that didn't mean the problem never existed. You can go ahead and laugh at me if you like. What's sad is the problem is that a lot of people that supposedly are preparing for catastrophe, they're right about the catastrophe, but their preparations suck. Kid you not. I remember after Y2K, I went back up to the local Walmart, do some shopping. It was about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. Well, not that long, about a week afterward, And at the front gate there was a lady, a little old lady, little white-haired lady, just starting to shrink. She had a grocery cart full of bottles of maple syrup. Not real maple syrup, pancake syrup anyway. The brown pancake syrup. But anyway, it was full up. And she was saying she wanted a refund because she'd heard about Y2K and she'd bought all this syrup to prepare. And that was how she prepared for a potential crisis. She bought up a wagon load of syrup. And I'm like, good Lord, I hate to see what the pancake mix and butter shelves in her house look like. I'm picturing her at home with a shovel making pancakes like Uncle Buck. Ooh, my breakfast is the most important meal of the day. uh, I still get tickled at that, but people just comments what I did. I bought up some bottled water. I got myself some bottled water. I got myself some. Stocked up my. All I had at the time was a little bitty walk-up apartment, one-room apartment above a garage. But I bought up. Stocked it up with some canned goods and some water and stuff. And it just had. I even went so far as to get my granddad's shotgun from my father. So just in case, yeah, nothing might happen, but people will go crazy even when nothing happens. So I figure, all it takes is somebody panicking, and you could have a riot out in the streets. So whether it was a real or a hoax, you'd better be prepared. So I stocked up. I put it. I put that shotgun someplace handy, and I put a box of ammo next to it, and I waited it out, waiting to see if anybody was going to flip their lid. I didn't go out and dig a bunker in the backyard or anything. I at least took some minimum sensible preparations. Meanwhile, the rest of my fellow Americans were out buying truckloads of pancake batter, apparently. Or pancake syrup. It's just... We are ill prepared. I forget how many... I have no idea how many different potential calamities that we are on the brink. For instance, we are not nobody I know, myself included, to be truthful, is prepared for the collapse of our fiat currency. I harp on that all the time. We're not prepared. We're not prepared for something that has happened every single time in the past to an economic system like our own. We're actually going around on the "I hope it won't happen to me" platform. So that's one basic computer program that won't run anymore. If you catch my drift. We got people. I told you about when I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Anytime so much as the faintest wisp of snow blows up through Chattanooga, Tennessee, the people in Chattanooga freak. It's the end of times, and they run out and they buy up all the milk and toilet paper and batteries and bottled water and bread. That's it. Bread, milk, batteries, and I'm terrified to imagine what kind of home alchemy they're planning to accomplish with these 4 ingredients. Batteries, that way batteries. Yeah, that way they can sit there with their flashlight and watch themselves slowly starve and freeze to death. That's brilliant. Unless you got an electric blanket that runs on D cells. dummies. And they would, just stupid preparation and just panic, poorly thought out, poorly planned out, and the city was just as bad. I told you about this. A blizzard came through. Generally, they had this stockpile sometimes for years in advance. Salt and salt trucks and trucks that would scatter ashes. Because you could use ashes and cinders as traction. So they would have these tons and tons and tons of stuff, and they wouldn't get it out. A blizzard. I got stuck at my home for like a week, and I was living dismally at the time, and I couldn't get to the store. Why? Because I couldn't even walk to the store because the sidewalks and streets were glass. I mean, solid ice. And the trucks took 2 or 3 days before they finally got the trucks through to scatter salt and ash. Then at that point I managed to hobble my way to a store about 2 blocks away that by miraculous grace of God Almighty was still open, and I bought every medicine I could afford there. Took it all home and went into a NyQuil coma. Bought a bit of food too here. Man, I was a mess. I didn't even have an aspirin in the house. Talk about poorly prepared. I didn't have no money. That was my excuse. But, this is why this is why even the most responsible doomsayers doesn't get any respect. Even the most sensible prognosticators gets no respect because 99% of them don't know how to prepare their way out of a wet paper sack, so to speak. The only, and I'll admit, I'm terrible at planning out for my own future. My lord, I'm like a living bad example of don't be like this guy. So I can't say too much, but all I can do is plead that I'm coming from the edge. Don't be like me. This is what I would have done and should have done if I could. One thing I would never do, if I could at all avoid it, I would not keep the majority. If I had money, if I was rolling in it, if for some mad reason I woke up tomorrow and I was internet famous and I was pulling in ad revenue out the wing wong, if I was actually pulling in ad revenue, if I was actually pulling in revenue, I would, if I was, if it was, and people were, and people were from all over the country. We want to make you our national artist. We want you to design our nation's flag. Just crap like that. I wouldn't. I would keep a certain amount of it in the bank, but I would not. I would make a point of putting my investments into material things rather than money. That sounds terrible. You're not supposed to be materialist. Especially as a Christian, it sounds terrible. But what I mean is that I would invest my money in real things, not I'm not so sure about companies or stocks or bonds, even because those things are only as legitimate as they pretend they are. I'm saying like I would invest in things I could pick up and hold in my hand, and then I'd have them shipped to me where I could pick them up and hold them in my hand. If I bought gold, silver, precious metals, I would have them, and I would stash them someplace that I could find. And I would, if I had lots of money, I would put it all. I would basically invest it in myself, in my house, and in the tools and utilities that would make living better. Buy a home, kit it out with all the tools you need. Stock, do what the Mormons do. Have at least a year's supply of everything perishable set aside someplace. I'd love to be able to do that. I really would. I'd love to be able to be smart about it too. I've got soup. I'm saying, I've got like soup and beans and some canned veggies and things. I've got a fairly decent amount of food there, but being the irresponsible lout that I am, but yeah, nothing will diminish your enthusiasm for soup like having a lot of it. Well, I tried that. I've tried that. Daniel, he sent me some, classy soup. Not Campbell's soup. Peasant. Campbell's is peasant soup. Doggone it. Soup of the proletariat. Just kidding. But he sent me, in his care package he sent me. There's like some cans of fancy minestrone. I've never had minestrone. And some potato cheese soup, and some fancy chicken noodle, with the big noodles and the whole chunks of carrot and lots of chicken. I had a can of it. It's good. But it's like this is it's the fancy kind of soup. So this is the kind that my mom would put back down, and go and get the Campbell's. You know what I'm saying? that kind of soup. We were Suave shampoo broke. You know what I'm saying? All the time. We were the kind of people, we were the kind of people that the generic stuff that's like 2 cents less. That was who we were made for. It was, we pinch a penny till it squeaked. My parents anyway would. Me, I haven't got the sense God gave a turnip. I don't think. I swear. I managed to overdraft myself. By $1 again. So uh, basically, I better hope that somebody makes a commission or makes a donation or something like that sometime between now and whenever, or basically, I'm just going to be getting whacked for a fee and probably whacked again. God only knows how many times they'll bounce it back and forth. Not too many donations coming in. People just dropping things in like that of late. I can't say I blame them. This has been like the worst month ever for my updates. Just so slow. Somebody did promise to give me free bacon if I updated. I did it again. I left my bacon out on the counter. Got some bacon at the store, or actually, I have to have my groceries delivered, so bought some delivery bacon. And put all my groceries away, and then I noticed about like 2 days later, I noticed the package sitting on the counter. Gee, I thought that. Ah, crap! It's, I just really don't know sometimes. I just really don't know. Either I need to have either gotten married much young. I either need to get married or to put myself up for adoption at the local kennel. I swear. Bacon? Yeah. Yes, it was the bacon tragedy. The tragic loss of bacon. It's not the first time I've done it either. Another time I did it was steak. Steak. I still want to cry over that. I'm sitting here drooling about steak and bacon now. Steak and... Here's a question for you. Okay, you can make bacon from a certain cut of pig. Bacon is actually a certain cut off the pig. Otherwise it would be a pork chop. And you get pork chop in hand, but anyway, bacon is a certain cut off the pig. Could you make bacon from the same cut of meat off a cow? Really, I've wondered that. I've often wondered that. I've wondered that every now and then. And I'd have to ask you'd have to ask a butcher to see if they'd try. Take the same cut. Same approximate location on the cow as on the pig. Have them cut that off. Have them cure it up and make cow bacon out of it. See how it tasted. It could be a whole new taste. It could be a revolution in baconology. Well, think about it. Kosher bacon. If ever I'm able to be out and about and around again, or maybe I'll just track one down on the internet. I'll track down a butcher and quiz them on that. Find out what they have to say. It'll probably be some disappointing answer like, "Oh, that cut is normally turned into, name this particular product." And yeah, I always wonder, variety, variety. Odd variations. Like, okay, we all know that coffee comes from cocoa beans, cacao beans. I don't know how to pronounce it, but cocoa beans. And they process and treat and they do all these things. They turn the cocoa bean into cocoa, then the cocoa into chocolate. I've always wondered, what if they use the exact same process on coffee beans? Do everything exactly the same except you use coffee beans instead of cocoa beans. It could be an entirely new kind of chocolate. Because I remember reading it, originally cocoa was consumed as a very strong, bitter drink, much like coffee. They also added pepper to it, but still, the similarity, it struck me. That's okay. So it's interesting little trivia things that you learn when you're looking things up. When you're looking things up for this, you would be amazed at the things I have learned just scrounging the internet for information on medieval thises and that's for Tales of the Questor. Things I learned about soap and soap and bathing and and the history of soap and hygiene and things like that. Of course, there are some things you regret learning. Like, I learned about the most expensive coffee on earth. It's a gourmet coffee. It's called Kopi Luwak. Kopi Luwak. It is made from weasel poop. And what it is that don't. Oh dear Lord, I'm terrified to imagine how they found this out. They would take the coffee beans, still the berry. Coffee comes in a berry, actually. The bean is inside a berry. They would feed the berries to these civets, well, basically a kind of weasel. The civets would eat the beans, the berries, and and the coffee beans would come out the other end. They would wash. Thank God they would wash the things the beans off, then roast them and make them into this rare gourmet coffee. And it's like, I forget how many hundreds of dollars for a pound. Which just goes to show rich people are stupid as everybody else. Well, thank you, Smithers. I think I shall have a double weasel puppuccino. Simply smashing. Really, you got to wonder though about the first people to eat some of the things we call food. Think about cheese. Cheese, basically, somebody's so desperate, so starving and desperate that they ate milk that had spoiled. I remember there's this one comic. It's called Goblins. It follows the adventures of a venturing band of, well, goblins in a Dungeons and Dragons style world. And there was one comic where they had just made an escape from a dungeon, an actual prison type dungeon, and they had managed to pilfer some food, and they were hiding out in the sewers underneath the city, and they were going through the food, and one of them pulls out a wheel of cheese, and he's like, "Whoa, dude, use your check evil on this, man. This smells terrible. What is this?" And their chieftain tries to explain to him what cheese is. Well, you see, they got these animals, and they keep the animals, and the animals have these dangly bits underneath. And they squeeze the things, and they get this white stuff, and they take that, and they let it age, and the expression of horror on the other goblin's face was just legendary. So and the chief is like, "Here, just you take the bread, I'll take the cheese. Just forget it." I nearly peed myself the first time I saw that comic. I mean, I could have made a meme out of that character's face, that one frame. Time for you just encountered new kinds of food. Time for a sanity check. You ever wonder about the guy who ate grapefruit and decided it was a good idea? Think about that. Now, you eat something that is bitter. That is normally nature saying, danger. If you eat this, you will die. And yet people come out, they eat the grapefruit, and they keep eating the grapefruit. It tastes like an orange with malevolent intent. But no, somebody decided that was an edible food. This is interesting, though. The lemon technically does not exist. The lemon, as we know it, is a hybrid of, let's see, a sour, what they call a sour orange, and a citron. And I believe the citron is also a hybrid too. Pick up a lemon. This is not the fruit you're looking for. Okay, I've got 5 people watching and nobody talking. Come on, give me some love. Give me some feedback. What you got to say? What you got to say, man? What you got to say? You got to say something. All I got to say is that the music, doggone it. I don't know what to think about this stupid music thing. I'm constantly fiddling with the volume controls. I don't know what to do about it. It used to flow, you know. My art, it used to flow. It's just not breathing anymore. It's just not alive like it used to be. Here's a thing for you. The original formula for Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew was originally invented to try and compete with 7-Up. It was a clear citrus beverage. It did not have caffeine in it. What it had was lithium. Medicinal lithium. because lithium supposedly boosts your mood. Apparently, the one of the orange dyes they use in the beverage. I forget what it is they have to do. They have to do something to the drink to prevent the caffeine from combining with the orange dye and forming a carcinogen. Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy? Mountain Dew. It was called Mountain Dew. Originally, the word Mountain Dew was a slang term for moonshine. It was a sly reference to the fact that the beverage was originally intended as a whiskey mixer. excuse me. I'm going to shift around here a little bit. Well, Archangel, you're welcome to go ahead and try making a comic of the story. I'm flattered. I'm always flattered to see our fan artwork. You remember that one guy? He did a comic book rendition of the giant dragon battle from Nyx's family. He never finished it. You know, just too many projects he has that he has to do himself, and this was just something he did. But what he did do was very, very impressive. And every page was, you know, every page he improved art-wise. Yeah. I was sad that he never finished it, and he set it aside. But I think he did what he set out to do. So. There are times I feel like a man who's perpetually behind the times. Perpetually late. You know, I feel like the one. I feel like a person who has always failed to, you know, I can't read trends until it's too late. Art trends, internet trends, that kind of thing. I always manage to. I'm like one of those people at the store. Have you ever felt like no matter what you did, you always picked the slowest lane? And you stand in that slow lane, and you stand in that slow lane, and you stand in that slow lane, and you watch the other lanes just blurring by. Until you finally go, I can't stand anyone, and you switch lanes, and that lane promptly slows down. And the one you're in suddenly starts moving again. I feel like my whole life has been like that. I've never been quite able to catch the wave. I remember when I first joined Furry Fandom, I saw how much money people were making from doing commissions. I started doing commissions, and then people started doing auctions, where they would auction off pieces of artwork, or they would auction off commissions. And I gave it a try, and the first two or three, I did pretty good. Made about $50 for a commission. This was about like 10 years ago, back when it was still money. And I'm like, whoa! And I buckled down, and the next thing I know, suddenly nobody's doing commissions anymore. Nobody's buying auction commissions anymore. And I'm sitting there, it's gone. And Every time a trend is, every time I've seen the trend, I've only managed to see the trend just as it's giving out. I'm terrible at timing games too, you know, like whack-a-mole. I always manage to hit just behind that damn mole. Missed again. Missed again. Missed again. Hit the wrong one. Ah, you know. This is my life. You know? And when I was young, I wanted to be a writer. I loved reading books. I loved reading sci-fi, especially, and fantasy a little bit. Like, actually, I was more into sci-fi than I was into fantasy at first. But as time went by, I realized, you know, I would write and I would read it back to myself, and it was terrible. And the more I tried, it just wouldn't click. It just I was only like 10 or 12. You know, when I started, and then I realized that drawing, you know, picture worth 1,000 words. And I started doing cartoons because I loved how, you know, a few simple lines made an entire image. And I love doing art because it was my favorite class in school. It was the one where I could go and I actually felt like I had I felt accomplished, like I was skilled, like I was talented. And maybe it was because it was one of the few ones where I really felt like encouraged. I don't know, but I got it more into art, and I decided, you know, instead of writing my stories, I'd draw my stories. You know, doing cartoon. I got into cartooning more and more and more and more, and for a while, I actually was looking at becoming, you know, an artsy fartsy type artist. You know, I wanted to be a, you know, gallery type artist. I wanted to make paintings and pictures that would hang in a gallery. And then I saw what was getting up in a gallery, and I said, I even tried my hand at modern art, you know, seeing if I could just pull that off. No. Not that my pop art crap was any more horrible than anybody else's pop art crap. I just didn't know how to play the game, you know. I didn't have the connection. I was just another nobody. You know. But anyway. I started doing cartooning because cartooning, you know, at least, you know, it had substance and consistency and you know, I came to admire a lot of the political cartoonists, how they could express such social outrages and draw attention to them with a single one frame drawing. In fact, whenever I pick up a newspaper, the first thing I'd read was the comic book page, comic strip, then I'd flip over to the editorial so I could see what the editorial comic was. But after a while, I started telling, you know, and I became a cartoonist, and I'd been going at it for years. I've been going at it since before 2000. I only really got onto the web around the year 2000, maybe a year or two before. I'm trying to remember exactly when I got on the internet, but I got on there, and that was it. If it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't have ever succeeded at anything, because I would have spent the rest of my life sending off letters to these publishers who didn't want to look at me in the first place. And well, I went online, I started posting my art, I started posting my comic strips, and the next thing you know, here I am. But then, as time has gone by, I've discovered, rediscovered my love for writing. Fan fiction, quite frankly. Because, I realized, holy crap, I can write fan fiction, and it's actually good. And to discover there's a flip side. You ever heard this? You've heard the saying, there's every picture is worth 1,000 words. When you're writing a comic book, that doesn't work out quite like that. Because you can tell 1,000 words, you can, a few seconds of action translates into an entire page of a comic. Time is your enemy. Because you're trying to, you're constantly trying to you're either trying to expand or compress the story. I found that 1,000 words could convey 1,000 pages of comic book story. If you were skilled enough. You can tell an entire story within 2 or 3 sentences. Shortest tragedy ever. There are several examples. Shortest tragedy ever. For sale. Baby shoes. Never worn. Or the classic horror story, the last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock at the door. Every one of these images, look at it. It will take you. Let's put it this way: when you write a comic book, it can take you days to draw a single page. It takes the reader like 5 seconds to read that page and then move on. Say, where's the next one? That's a very hungry beast to feed. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little, maudlin here. I just, I used to be able to go on like this for hours. I used to be able to do these shows for like 4, 5, 6 hours, get all the way to midnight. Whoa, it's 2 in the morning, you know. I think I need more vitamins in my diet. Maybe more lithium. I wonder if lithium would help. Is lithium a vitamin? Is it a dietary mineral or vitamin, rather? Folic acid, vitamin B2. I've got this complete multivitamin for adults with 30 nutrients. It's like I'm looking at iron, phosphorus, iodine, zinc, selenium, copper, nickel, silicon, tin. Good grief. It doesn't list lithium though. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I know lithium's a mineral, but you know, vitamin mineral. As I remember, the word vitamin was coined to suggest vitality mineral. Wonder if you can get lithium supplements. What it is the reason I'm asking is because apparently the original recipe for Mountain Dew didn't use caffeine; it used lithium, which is allegedly a mood-boosting substance. I'm like, maybe I'm lithium deficient. I don't know. I'll try anything. I miss being young and being able to get just absolutely spastic and hyper and sustain it for a few hours. But, okay. Okay, let's see here. Alright, it is... I keep saying this. One of these days I'll actually do it. One of these days, okay, but I think what I'm going to do is, tonight's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. I'm going to get up, I'm going to do a show in the morning and see if I can chug along for a few extra hours that way. The hard part will be convincing myself not to just go, oh, well, first of all, to get up that early. Second of all, to start the show that early. Instead of going, oh, well, I'll just wait until the afternoon. The afternoon's when I do it normally. I just normally do it that way, and I don't care. I'm just tired, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to, meh. But for now, I'm chugging into the station here. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a night tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. If you'd like to keep me broadcasting, keep me drawing, keep me writing, keep me ticking along, feel free to stop by my website, check out my stuff, check out my comics, or go to my site at www.patreon.com/RHJunior. And at either site, you'll just toss a coin in the hat if you could. It'd be greatly appreciated. Keeps the home fires lit. and the home fries burnt. But I will see you all tomorrow. You all take care of yourselves, all right? This has been another showing of Spleen Squeezins. That's all, folks.